Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Barry Watts with WealthCare has the strategies you need to plan for a successful retirement. Whether you're planning for retirement, saving to live out your dreams, or looking to grow your wealth, Barry has resources to guide you every step of the way. Barry and the team at WealthCare develop customized plans to help you achieve your financial goals. Welcome to Watts on Wealth with Barry Watts.
Here's a saying we're all familiar with. The only thing that stays the same is change. Is that right? So how can you keep life's curveballs from derailing your retirement plans? That's what we talk about today. Welcome into the Watts on Wealth TV show. I'm your host, Ralph Hipp. And today, joining me, of course, is J. Barry Watts, the founder of Springfield's WealthCare Corporation. Barry, we love getting together, chatting on the radio for our hour. And for this half hour, it's great to see you on the TV side.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Ralph. I'm really glad to be back with you.
Well, this is a big topic we're going to discuss today on the radio show. We often talk about having your money last until you live to be 100. You know, that's our goal, to live to be 100 years old and planning for all the money to be there for you. So plan for a 20 or 30-year retirement. It sounds like it's very challenging. And then when we see all the different scenarios that pop up in our 20 or 30-year retirement, it seems downright impossible, Barry.
Well, some of that causes people to say they don't even want to live to be 100, Ralph. And so what I'd say is, 100 isn't necessarily the mission, but the point is, if you could keep your health, wouldn't you want to continue living? And so if we do some right things in financial planning, maybe you'll be able to focus more time and energy to keeping yourself healthy along the way. And thinking about living that long, 20 or 30 years, that's a long time. It would seem almost impossible to plan that far out. Well, Ralph, the longest journey begins with the smallest step. And so it's possible to begin those kinds of huge plans just by taking one little step. And the first step to begin with and start with is the income step. When we dial in the income, know how much income you're going to need, then we're able to move on beyond that. And then we'll look at taxes and look for tax savings and add that to the plan. And then after that, we'll look at investments and add that to the plan. And then we'll add long-term care and finally estate planning. So the point is, it's a one bite at a time process that's very doable. And that's why we use a 6-step retirement planning process called the 6 Steps to Retirement Confidence, because we want people to be able to pull the retirement trigger and do so with a great degree of confidence that they're going to have the money they need to meet all their needs in retirement. So here's my opinion on this matter, Ralph. No one can design a comprehensive retirement plan in 1 or 2 meetings. Most of our plans take 5 or 6 visits, where we isolate the issues that we want to solve, income typically being the first one, and then we focus only on those particular items until we have them resolved, one bite at a time, one step at a time, little by little, until it's all accomplished. And fortunately, at the WealthCare Corporation, we know which steps to take first and the most important bites to sink our teeth into.
One bite at a time, if we live to be 100. Can you talk more about step by step, Barry, whether it's the 6 steps or beyond that, of what goes into the WealthCare Corporation planning process?
Well, first you have to talk about the purpose for the money, Ralph. The purpose of all that money that people have accumulated for retirement is to provide income. But you've got to know how to turn those assets into income and which assets to turn into income in which order. So many people get confused about investments because the investment industry has only talked to them about investments. They think investments is the topic. No. Income is the beginning topic. And the media kind of promotes this idea that what you really need in life is for your retirement account to keep up with the S&P 500. But that's not the objective at all. They don't give out any retirement awards for congratulations, you kept up with the S&P 500. The job of your retirement money isn't to keep up with anything or anyone. Its job is only to provide you with the money you need to live the rest of your life, period. So away with all the comparisons. If your plan works for you, it's successful. Now, after that, Ralph, we move on and start talking about taxes. That's an area where most people can save some money. They just don't know that they can save money. And that's where having advisors who are also tax experts comes in really handy. Beyond that, your plan must address healthcare. There's about a 75% chance that a retired person is going to go into a long-term care kind of situation at some point. And then no plan is complete. if it fails to address how to give what's left over to the people that you want it to go to. That's estate and legacy planning. So all of those things wrapped up together are what we do for our clients every day of the week at the WealthCare Corporation.
And we're talking with J. Barry Watts, the main retirement designer at the WealthCare Corporation, about navigating those changes throughout your retirement. And a lot can happen over the course of that 20 or 30-year retirement if you live to be 100. How do you help get people around the Ozarks ready for this? This is a long time.
Well, you know, we do it the same way in the Ozarks or out of the Ozarks because human beings are human beings. So sometimes we have to talk about psyche because people say, well, I don't want to live that long. Well, I understand that you may not want to live that long, but why don't you come back to me when you're like 85 and let's answer the question again and see how long you want to live then. My suspicion is most people are going to say, oh, maybe I do want to live that long, particularly if they're healthy. And so, unfortunately, in our culture, we have learned to talk about and focus on money. This show is about money, not health. But frankly, we need to learn to give a little more attention to our health and preserving our health because you're going to live a long time in retirement. Therefore, you've got to focus on the money to be sure you have enough money in retirement, but you've got to focus on the health to be sure that you're able to enjoy the money that you have.
Well, I want to mention important insights, Barry, on that. We do want to honor Bob Barker of Drury College, who lived to be 99, and Betty Cole Dukert. If you know her, Betty Cole Dukert was the longtime producer of the Meet the Press program, also lived to be 99, also from Drury College right here in Springfield. So there must be something in the water.
You are a veritable fountain of information, Ralph.
Those television people, those famous people, if they're from Springfield, I remember.
Well,
they're
and the
worth
famous
remembering.
Ralph Hipp, I can imagine in 30 or 40 years, they talk about Ralph Hipp, who was still doing this show into his 90s. You got 25 years to go.
Well, let's plan on it.
All right, that'll be good.
Barry and I will, if you'll join us, we'll try to live to be 99 or 100. So Bob and Betty did it, and hopefully you can too. Well, it's one thing to try to plan around your own personal circumstances. That is a big part of longevity, but geopolitical conflict we have going on and policy changes halfway around the world and here at home in the Ozarks could also certainly impact your retirement future. Barry will help us navigate those changes coming up next as Watts on Wealth returns to your TV set right after this.
On the surface, your retirement plan might look solid. With your 401k or IRA, Social Security, investments, and insurance coverage, you appear to have it all covered. But what could you be missing? Below the surface, is your retirement exposed to too much risk? It's time for a deeper dive into your portfolio. We can help you uncover the risk that lies beneath the surface and learn about strategies to help preserve your savings. Get your free risk analysis today.
When it comes to planning for the future, time may not always be on your side. Think about your taxes. Tax rates are historically low right now, but they'll likely be higher in the future. Our current tax rates are set to expire in just a few short years. With the right planning and strategy, you might be able to cut your tax bill in the years to come. But don't wait until it's too late to take advantage of today's lower tax rates. Let us be your partner in planning for tomorrow so you can enjoy your retirement today.
I'm back here with J. Barry Watts of the WealthCare Corporation, and on our show we're talking over how planning can really help you stay on track when life tosses you a curveball. Well, Barry, it's one thing to have to plan around and also deal with our own personal circumstances and our own family situation, but talk about the things that could really impact our retirement that are out of our control.
Well, Ralph, most things are out of your control. If we could live in our own little bubble where we could control everything, life would be really different. But the fact is, we really control very little. We influence our health, but we can't control ultimately what happens to us. We influence our finances through saving and wise investment decisions. But if the numbskulls in Washington keep printing more and more money and devalue your dollar further and increase your cost to live, well, there's not really a lot you and I can do about that, Ralph. We can make wise investment decisions, but all it takes is one crazy person to fly an airplane into a building, and without warning, our national economy can turn in a totally different direction. So, Ralph, ultimately, I think control is an illusion. And I think that's where faith comes in. Our job here and now is to do the best we can with what we've been given in light of the guidance that God provides us, while being sure that our souls are in tune with the Creator of the universe, so ultimately we can spend eternity with Him.
Words of wisdom. Thank you for that, Barry. When we talk about trying to keep pace with inflation right now with the money we've saved, we're also being made aware of exposure to too much risk in the markets That's a very difficult balancing act. Barry, how do you help people all around the Ozarks find that balance to stay aligned with the goals they've set for themselves, the goals that you help them set?
Well, Ralph, I don't help people set goals. I help people draw the goals out of themselves. The goals have to be internal. You can't set a goal externally and say, my goal for you is this. No.
So you don't try to hold them to what they told you.
I don't put the goals on them. I try to draw the goals out of them and get them to tell me what they want. So what we do, our job is to teach people how the markets work and how they react to different environments, different economic environmental situations, and show them how principal protection, for example, works and what influences are going to impact their retirement. And then we'll ask the question, how much do you want in protected principal? And they answer the question. But there's no cookie cutter. There's no one size fits all. Every plan is custom designed because every person is uniquely designed. It's funny, people will often ask me if they have allocated the proper amount to protected principal. And what I tell them after they tell me how much they want and they say, is that right? I say, of course it's right, because it's your number. And no one cares what someone else's number is. What matters is what is your number. So everyone ultimately is different, Ralph, and we build customized retirement plans for clients that match their goals and how much risk that they are comfortable in taking.
We're looking ahead to 2026, especially, Barry, on this. We can't control if or when our tax rates around the country would go up, but how can having a plan through you, hopefully, really give us back a lot of that control?
Well, here's what we can control, Ralph. We can control the timing for when we pay taxes. We can pay them now or we can pay them in 2026 and after. We can control the tax rate at which we pay taxes. Because we know what the rates are today, we can choose to pay them at today's rates rather than waiting to the rates that come in 2026, which according to the current legislation that's already been signed, sealed, and delivered, the law says in January of 2026, taxes are going to go higher. So if you wait until then, we know that you're going to pay taxes at a higher rate. And if you can control the rate that you pay taxes at and the timing, then you also get to control the amount of tax you pay. So I think it's important to suck a little of that control back. We feel like the government's ultimately in control of our taxes, and they do have a lot of control, but I want to take control away from them where we can.
Barry, we have that window of opportunity, and we'll keep assessing the situation. You'll be watching it closely about inflation rates and interest rates and tax rates. And how do you help us navigate when is the right time to make any particular move on interest rates and with the taxes the way they seem to be heading?
Well, Ralph, generally speaking, when it comes to interest rates, you're either going to be purchasing interest-bearing vehicles or you're not. And the time to purchase those, of course, is when interest rates are high. That's wonderful. You don't want to purchase them when interest rates are low because, number one, they don't pay very much. And number two, as interest rates go higher, the value of existing interest rate investments go down. So if you buy a bond when interest rates are low, and a lot of people did that in 17, 18, 19, those kind of times, well, when the markets turned around and interest rates started to increase in 22 and 23, those people lost money owning their bonds. So you've got to know how the markets work and whether this is a good time to be buying those things or not. And the time to be buying is when interest rates are high, not when the Fed and other people are saying that interest rates are going to go a lot lower. And so that's a little tip on how to know whether or not we're going to buy interest rates now or whether we're going to wait and purchase our interest rates at some later time.
So, Barry, I'm sure you'd agree, and you folks may be watching the news. Don't make any decisions based on what you see on the news of anything that may look encouraging or discouraging. Talk to a guy like Barry Watts,
well,
right?
We consider the news, Ralph, but we consider all of the news, not just the fake news that we sometimes get. You've got to be able to discern which news you're hearing is accurate and which news isn't.
That's true, too. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know which pieces of news make a difference. Sometimes the media's job is to inflame us, to get us all lathered up so we'll keep watching. And sometimes what you need to do is turn it off instead. Now, I know you're an old news media guy, Ralph, so I hate to say turn them off.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are times to turn them off and say, no, I'm not going to listen to that news because it doesn't affect me. Our job, having done this we're now in our fourth decade, our job is to know when to turn the news off, or if we leave the news on, what pieces of news to listen to. And that is critically important as you plan your retirement.
Friends, it's all about whatever the coverage is of the issues that are going on financially, politically, what is right for you and what's right for your family. Barry, thank you. We've got more to go on the show, and straight ahead, Barry shares his approach to organizing your money so you can get some regular income checks every month in retirement. Does that sound good? That's next in our Steps to Retirement Success. And later on the show, one of our favorite parts is Barry will answer some of your most pressing questions about retirement. You're watching Watts on Wealth, the TV show. This is Ralph Hipp with Barry Watts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When it comes to planning for the future, time may not always be on your side. Think about your taxes. Tax rates are historically low right now, but they'll likely be higher in the future. Our current tax rates are set to expire in just a few short years. With the right planning and strategy, you might be able to cut your tax bill in the years to come. But don't wait until it's too late to take advantage of today's lower tax rates. Let us be your partner in planning for tomorrow so you can enjoy your retirement today.
How does your future look in retirement? When you don't have a strategy, the future might look a little fuzzy. But with someone asking the right questions and helping you learn where you truly stand, it can become easier to work towards your goals. You need a plan to help generate income that will last as long as you need it. And the first step to creating an income plan is an analysis of where you are now. Let us help you bring your retirement into focus with your free income analysis today.
Time now for Barry's Steps to Retirement Success, as he'll share with us how to organize our investments for income so we get the amount of money that we need every year. Barry?
One of the most frequent questions that I'm asked by people who are preparing to retire is, Barry, how am I going to start getting money out of these accounts every month once I retire? You see, people have a lot of wealth, in some cases millions of dollars in their investments, but they have no idea how they're ever going to turn it into income. Well, we solve this problem by thinking about your money in three distinct groups that I call income buckets. Now, I want you to imagine those buckets are here in front of me right now. The first bucket with the smallest amount of money in it on this side is going to be called your now bucket. It is designed to provide you income for only the next 12 months. So if you needed, for example, $4,000 a month in income from your investments, we'd have $4,000 times 12 months. That's $48,000 in the now bucket for the money that you'll spend in the next year. Half of that money would be held in cash. So the other half of it is held in short-term investments like United States Treasuries to earn a little interest. And every month from the now bucket, we take the money out and we pay you by sending it to the bank account so your sitting on the porch money hits monthly. The second bucket that you ought to have after the now bucket is the soon bucket. And in the soon bucket is where we keep the money that will become now bucket money a year or so from now. In fact, years 2, 3, and 4 stay in the soon bucket. And in this one, we might hold a 1-year bond and a 2-year bond and a 3-year bond. So those bonds are maturing just at the time we need them to, so we can move money from the soon bucket over to the now bucket so that you can start spending it. We want to use guaranteed kinds of things in these buckets to protect it so that it's not subject to fluctuation that may come from the markets over the next 4 years. Now, any money that is not held in the now bucket or the soon bucket is money that we put down in the later bucket. That's the money that we've put down there to grow for the future. Years 5 and beyond, the money goes in the later bucket, and we invest it in things that are designed to grow, but which mean they will fluctuate in value with the markets. But that's okay, because we're not going to need this money very soon. We're going to not touch this money for at least 5 years, so market fluctuation shouldn't impact your income in those first 4 years, because all of the market fluctuation is transferred to the later bucket that has the 5-year and beyond money in it. So here's what happens. In the first year, money comes out every month from the now bucket and goes into your bank account. At the end of the first year, your now bucket is empty. So we have to take money from your soon bucket and move the soon bucket money into the now bucket because it's become now. And now that leaves a hole here in the soon bucket, doesn't it? We reach down and grab the later bucket and we pour money from the later bucket to fill back up the soon bucket, using the soon bucket to fill up the now bucket, using the now bucket to fill up your bank account. And that's the way that we distribute money to make sure that you have income every year in retirement. At the Wealthcare Corporation, we're definitely committed to making sure that you have income that you can count on. And the way we do it is with those 3 buckets, the now, soon, and later bucket. If you'd like to know more and you'd like for us to help you establish a plan like that, don't hesitate to give us a call. Back to you, Ralph.
You have your own question about your own retirement? Well, don't go anywhere. Barry has the answers coming up in our famous Q&A segment as Watts on Wealth continues right here after this.
How does your future look in retirement? When you don't have a strategy, the future might look a little fuzzy. But with someone asking the right questions and helping you learn where you truly stand, it can become easier to work towards your goals. You need a plan to help generate income that will last as long as you need it. And the first step to creating an income plan is an analysis of where you are now. Let us help you bring your retirement into focus with your free income analysis today.
Planning for retirement can be complicated. Helping create income that lasts, making sure your health care is covered, investing while managing risk, and don't forget about taxes. If you're overwhelmed, you're not alone. The good news is we have what you need to give you confidence to start planning for your ideal retirement, all in one convenient resource. You'll get answers to some of your biggest retirement questions in this easy-to-understand, practical resource. And best of all, there's no cost to you. Take the first step toward a confident retirement and get yours today.
You probably have some really awesome questions about retirement. Have some good news for you. Barry Watts is ready to answer those. Barry, you're ready for our famous Q&A segment?
I am excited about it, Ralph. I love this section of our show because it gives us a chance to unpack answers to many of the questions that people have asked and that I've covered in my new book, Watts on Wealth, the book. Not Watts on Wealth, the TV show, or Watts on Wealth, the radio show, or Watts on Wealth, the YouTube channel, but Watts on Wealth, the book. So we use questions from the radio show and from the TV show to help us craft the topics that are covered in the book, and I think you'll find it a very interesting read. In fact, we'll send a free copy out to anyone who wants one simply by texting the word book, B-O-O-K, to the number that you see on the bottom of your screen. We'll send you an autographed copy of the book in the mail this week.
Well, let's see what our question authors have in mind for us. And our opening question comes from Clark in Mount Vernon. He says, I'm 64. My wife and I have term life insurance. We're wondering if it'd be best to find a different kind of insurance to take us into retirement. Could you give us your input on that?
Well, that's a really good question that Clark has asked. And the first question that I would like to ask him, if I could turn around and turn the tables the other direction, is I would say, Ralph, why does Clark think that he needs life insurance in the first place? Now, I'm not saying he doesn't need life insurance. I'm just wondering if he's asked this basic question. There are many retired people who don't need life insurance and who don't have life insurance. Some people for whom it's appropriate to get rid of their life insurance. But interestingly enough, about 2/3 of our retired clients at the Wealthcare Corporation do have life insurance, but it isn't because they're worried about them dying. It's because Section 7702 of the Internal Revenue Code, the section that covers life insurance, allows us to use life insurance rules to provide tax-free long-term care protection. And it allows us to create tax-free retirement income much like they would take from a Roth IRA. So I would suggest that you come to the Wealthcare Corporation, sit down with us and have a visit with one of our advisors, and let us look at your situation more carefully and see if you need insurance at all, and if you do, what type of insurance you need and in what amounts. Call our office for a visit to discuss that today.
All right. And on to our next topic. Here's a great question from Deb in Bolivar, Missouri. My husband has several emergency fund bank accounts with more than enough money to cover 6 months of income in the event of an emergency. You know, that rule of thumb, have 6 months of income set aside. So Deb is curious about other options which might earn higher interest for us. Could you give us some examples, please?
Well, Deb, at the time that we are recording this show, you can get 5% interest on cash, no penalties, no fees, no minimum amount, insured by the FDIC. Now, if you don't know where to find that, call us and we'll point you in the right direction. Interest rates change every day, so the amount that you should have in interest-bearing investment accounts like bonds or income annuities is going to depend on what your income needs are over the next several years. Now we're almost back to talking about your sitting on the porch number. But the income rates that most people want typically will find better interest in brokerage type accounts than you will find at the local banks. In fact, I'll let you in on a little secret. Oftentimes the banks call people like us after you deposit money in their accounts. They call people like us to buy bonds with them. So you can kind of cut out the middleman and just call us directly. So there's a portion of your money that should be for income, but the rest of your money should be invested in some combination of protected principal and optimized investments so it'll grow for the future. Think about it this way, Deb. You and your husband have worked very hard for your money. If you let that money sit in the bank, it's not working for you. It's resting. Shouldn't your money work as hard for you as you did for it? At WealthCare, we're the money employment agency. No lazy dollars allowed. Call one of our advisors, Deb. We'll help you design an investment plan so that your money works for you as hard as it did for them.
Great slogan there. That should be over your door at your office. Have the money work for you as hard as you work for it. Time for one more question. Joe in Dadeville, you get the honor for this week. The final question: what might be the best investments for someone who's 61 and healthy and wanting to retire as soon as possible, Barry?
Well, Ralph, the first thing I would recommend is a really good mattress, because a good night's sleep is priceless. That's no place to be chintzy.
Number one.
Buy the most expensive mattress. That's going to really help you. The second thing, Ralph, I think, is good arch supports. Buy a good set of arch supports and wear good shoes. And Joe, if you've invested in a wife, invest more in her by taking really good care of her. I guess what he meant is, what stocks should I buy? Well, I have no idea.
He probably appreciates that, but
yeah, I just gave him the more important advice, probably. I don't know what you should buy, Joe, because I don't know you and I don't know your specific situation, and it would be malpractice for me to prescribe an investment for someone that I know nothing about. So you need to come in and sit down with one of our advisors. Leave your checkbook at home. We're not going to charge you for that visit. We want to talk with you. We want to learn more about you. We want to walk you through the 6 steps to retirement confidence, which will include investments in step number 3. And you'll be shown at that time investment ideas that will fit your personal needs and preferences.
I know that our listeners, our viewers, the listeners on the radio, we have great questions on our radio show. Great questions on the TV segment here. They appreciate your answers and your great insight, Barry.
I'm glad to help. I hope it is helpful.
Every week. And that'll do it for our show this time. By the way, I do hope you'll listen for Barry and me over the weekends and check us on TV. So, Barry, appreciate that. Another fine show today. Well, friends, if you want to learn some ways to generate your lifetime income, keep it going the way it is, as close as possible, possibly reduce that big tax bill, and maintain the lifestyle you would love to have in retirement, reach out now to Barry Watts. He and his team are ready to help you start rebuilding a retirement plan designed to help you flourish, not just exist in retirement, really flourish in the retirement that you're dreaming of. So I'm Ralph Hipp, and for Barry Watts and the whole team at Springfield's WealthCare Corporation, we look forward to seeing you next time on our TV show. Listen on the radio and join us again right here next time.